Lindenwood started in 2014 when my old band with Danny broke up. So we decided we still wanted to play music and we still wanted to write songs. So we formed a band right away. And the first few Lindenwood songs were actually the supposed new songs of that old band. So we already had the material. So we recorded that and we released our first EP called There's Nothing. We released it a year after our formation, 2014. So the sound of those first few songs it was still in the pop punk sound because it came from the old band, but we were slowly changing into a heavier, more I think a darker sound, if that makes sense. So after that EP, we recorded our first album and we released it in 2017. That was Steady Lives, and the rest is history. So for influences, it changed through time, obviously. We started, again, we were transitioning into a darker sound, into a more aggressive sound. So we listened to a lot of melodic hardcore bands back then. I think that was also the thing back then. So we listened to a lot of Touche Amore, Defeater, Worthwhile. So those were the bands, or especially for me, those were the bands that were always in rotation during the first few years of Lindenwood, and then eventually we changed the sound to a more I don't know how you would call it, but probably a friendlier sound. So there was still hints of what we used to sound like, but then we were also heavily influenced by bands like Blink-182, personally Green Day. So we kind of shifted into a more easy listening sound, I think. So the influences for the newer sound were bands like the Menzingers, Bouncing Souls, Flatliners, Smoking Popes, those types of bands. Personally, what got me into emo, I think back in 2005, 2006, I think nowadays it's called mall emo. Bands like Seosin, Under Oath, what else? The Used. So those bands got me into the emo thing, and then eventually I discovered the Midwest emo through my friends Danny Rise, when probably 10 years ago. So there were bands like American Football, and then it progressed to Free Throw. There are a lot of bands now that I would consider emo. Maxil, probably one of the bands that I listened to the most in the past few years. So there are a lot of bands, emo bands, but what introduced me to emo are those bands back in 2005, 2006, those scene bands, mall emos. Fête Emo Stage, I think it's a big accomplishment for the people in the scene. It's something that personally I'm very proud of and I'm honored to be a part of, because I think we don't get much representation in the scene, and to be a part of a big music event like Fête de la Musique, and to have your own stage is something to be to be happy and to be stoked about. And it will be the start of a lot of things, I think, and people will discover so many great bands. If you see the lineup, it's stacked. Some of the best bands, I think, in the Philippines. So a lot of people will discover that, and hopefully it grows and it grows, and hopefully there will be more events for bands like these, and hopefully it will inspire a lot of bands as well, and a lot of people to form bands, I think, or listen to this type of music. So yeah, Fête Emo Stage is something I'm very, very proud to be a part of. You can follow Lindenwood through our social media pages: Instagram, Lindenwood PH, Facebook, Spotify, and Bandcamp. So yeah, that's it. See you on Friday at Fête Emo Stage at Sigio. Thank you, Calm Lake Records.